Good afternoon, everybody. Big Mike back here with you once again. Welcome back to Big Mike Talks. Sorry it's been a little while. I decided to skip my after WrestleMania break because, Road to WrestleMania was so interesting. Had me interested in that week. So I took the break this past week, which honestly I kind of needed. Get myself back into it this week, and it's been a very interesting week for pro wrestling. So to start this video, we're gonna go through the results of both TNA Wrestling Rebellion, and then cover AEW Dynasty, and then go over the week that was in pro wrestling. Sound good to you? Hope it does, because here we go. So we start with the results. Retaining his X Division champion is Mustafa Ali, defeating Jake Something. Rich Swann of First Class defeats Joe Hendry with a little help from some celebrities at Rebellion, which that's kind of interesting. Frankie Kazarian beats Eric Young in Full Metal Mayhem, in which afterwards Eric Young was taken to the hospital to reattach his ear. Eric, what are you doing, man? You're insane. So next, we had Steve Maclin come out, reveal he's re-signed with TNA, and that he wanted some competition. Santino comes out, reintroduces us to Mike Santana, who has... Well, he did spend some time in Impact. He was tag team champions with Ortiz. They went to AEW, kind of learned under Jericho for a bit, and then kind of did nothing. They did feud for a little bit on Rampage, but that was kind of it. Santana's contract expired. Now he's back in TNA, picking up the win over Steve Maclin, and I am super interested to see where this goes. The System, that's Brian Myers and Eddie Edwards, defeats Speedball Mountain, that's Speedball Mike Bailey and Trent Seven, for the tag team titles. Josh Alexander beats Hammerstone in a last man standing match. And I saw highlights from this match. Ooh, this was a wild one. Jordan Grace defeated Steph DeLander for the Knockouts title with help from actually a couple people. Obviously, Steph DeLander had the Good Hands come out with her. They tried to get involved only to be thwarted by PCO. Then out came Khan, who took out PCO, who made their return. It's the Death Machine, Sami Callihan. Always good to see Mr. Sami Callihan, who fought off not only the Good Hands, but Mr. Khan, so that Grace can pick up the win and retain her title. And then in our main event, Moose successfully defends his World Heavyweight Champion against Nick Nemeth, aka Dolph Ziggler. And then post-match, we got another big return, as it's Broken Matt Hardy. So happy to see him back in the promotion that started the Broken Brilliance. It's always good to see Broken Matt Hardy back. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's grown into mine. So, yeah, we'll see where that leads. So that was Rebellion. We now take a look at AEW Dynasty, which was the Sunday after Rebellion, which, nice kind of accidental cohesion, Give me 1 second, I do apologize. Anyway, results we got. Kazuchika Okada beat Pac to retain his Continental crown. The House of Black, that's Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, defeat Adam Copeland, Eddie Kingston, and Mark Briscoe in a trios match. Willow Nightingale beat Julia Hart for the TBS title. So, congratulations, Willow Nightingale, my fellow Long Islander. Roderick Strong successfully defends his international title against Kyle O'Reilly. Chris Jericho beat Hook for the FTW title. Okay, didn't see that coming. Will Ospreay beat Bryan Danielson in a singles match. And I saw highlights from this thing. Oh boy. If there's a match that you need to go out and see, if you haven't, this is the one. The Young Bucks, that's Matthew and Nicholas Jackson, beat Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler for the vacant AEW Tag Team titles in a ladder match with a little help from a returning Jack Perry. So it looks like Jack Perry has joined the New Elite, and we'll get to that a little later. And Fine Alamo, our main event for Dynasty, as Swerve Strickland beats Samoa Joe for the AEW World title. Congratulations, Swerve. Well deserved. So yeah, that was those two pay-per-views. Definitely some things to look forward to in the future for wrestling. We now go back to the weekly programming. Now, no Raw this week because I missed it because I was out on Monday. Don't blame me, I wanted to go out. So instead, we start with NWA Power. And we start off with a very interesting tag team match where the winners move on to potentially get a U.S. tag team title shot. It's the team of Alex Misery and Mecha Wolf, who have been brought together by Vampiro to take on former champions Talos and Daisy Gill. We kind of start off with a Daisy Gill performance with his ukulele, which, you know, is kind of getting old. So then Mecha Wolf and Alex Misery attack Daisy Gill and Talos before the bell. Definitely some really good back and forth, including Alex Misery trying to take out Talos, but ultimately he gets caught. Counters from a chokeslam. They go up the ramp to the stage area, in which, if you haven't seen the NWA stage lately, it's pretty cool looking. So, Talos goes for a choke slam. Misery hangs onto the stage, goes up top the set dressing, does a moonsault. Talos moves, and he hits, I guess, security / people working backstage. Then Talos brings him back. Bell rings in the ring, so we have Mecha Wolf and Daisy Gill starting us off. And yeah, this is a very interesting back and forth matchup. Daisy Gill is a lot better than I expected. Although this isn't my first time seeing him, he's very talented. And I'm going to say this also. Talos as the towering big man, it works. It's a really cool dynamic between Daisy Gill and Talos. And to see Mecha Wolf and Alex Misery trying to chop down the cherry tree that is Talos, but ultimately failing. Mecha Wolf and Misery going for God's Kill, which is La Rebellion's move. I don't know what happened to Bestia. I hope he's okay and comes back to NWA soon. But, yeah, Talos, the big man with a big old boot to Misery. Hits a big old power bomb to Mecha Wolf on a cross body try. And your winners, Daisy Kill and Talos. The start was definitely all the chaos I expected from a Mecha Wolf match. Alex Misery is a very entertaining character. He gives vibes of, I know I'm going to get a little hate from this, but a little Darby Allin vibes. Like, he definitely gives me Darby Allin vibes, and, you know, that team works really well together. I'm going to be interesting to see how this dynamic works going forward. If Vampiro will continue to be involved in this team. Will we see Bestia come back? I'm not sure, but it's going to be interesting to see. We then go backstage for an interview with the Southern Six. They're hyping up their upcoming cage match against Trevor Murdoch and Mike Knox. In which, rest in peace, dude. Pretty much saying, yeah, we own the NWA now. You guys aren't prepared for us. And just to see how bad you guys are in that cage. So, nice little hype up. Definitely going to be interesting to see how this goes. Next up, we got the NWA Women's Title match as Natalia Markova takes on champion Kenzie Page. And oh boy, this match was absolutely excellent. Did kind of slowly build up, but as soon as it hit that crescendo after a Kenzie Page super kick, then it was just on. At one point, Markova goes for a beautiful disaster kick. Kenzie catches it, goes for a cutter, but then that gets blocked off. Kenzie with a beautiful DDT, but only gets a 2 count. Natalia with a try on a roll-up after a Kenzie cutter, but that only gets a 2 count. Kenzie Page with finally hitting the Kenzie cutter to pick up the win and retain her title. Now, fantastic match. This is one I think if you guys haven't seen, go check it out. It's a hoot. But now out comes someone interesting. It's Vampiro and Alex Misery. They have a bouquet of black roses for her. Vampiro hands it off to her. Markova. Then Markova just drops them down and leaves. So, yeah, we'll see where that goes. Yeah, I'm not sure where that's gonna go. Is Vampiro gonna sign up a woman to fill out a spot in his new group? Are we gonna see Alex Misery try to take her on? I don't know. It's definitely an interesting place to be. We then go backstage for a promo from the Miserably Faithful. They're in some boiler room, it looks like, with Father James Mitchell pretty much saying, "Mims, have you lost your goddamn mind? When you put your hands on me, you unleashed a hellstorm upon yourself. We're going to beat you and your partners into spiritual enlightenment." That sounds like a beating. "And what has playing good guy gotten you? Beat down after beat down at the hands of us. And while you may have friends, but not all friends are faithful." Which, dang, that's a good ending line. We now go into that match as Magnum Muscle, that's Big Strong Mims and Dak Draper, team up with Carson Drake to take on Gags the Gimp, Josiah, is his name Josias? What's his name? Judas, and Max the Impaler for a 6-man tag team match. And at the start, we see Carson Drake and Dak Draper tagging in and out, being a little resilient, to tag in Mims. And then Drake just gets beat down by the entirety of Miserably Faithful. Eventually, he does counter out. He gets out. He tries to go for a tag. But Gags takes out Drake's partners. Eventually, Mims does get in. He does fight off a little bit of the Miserably Faithful, but the numbers game is too much, including outcoming Salvation, who tries to go for a crossbody. He gets caught into a power slam, which that was impressive. But then Max the Impaler with a big old clothesline and then a spear for the victory for the Miserably Faithful. So Miserably Faithful leave. That just leaves Mims in the ring with Dak Draper. Mims then attacks Dak Draper from behind, just straight beating his butt. Mims goes up the ramp, but he stops on the stage, and then Carson Drakes get some licks in on Dak. Mims then spits on Drake. Dak Draper then takes out Carson Drake for a while, including an attack into the guardrail. Dak Draper and then Mims kind of have a little stare down. And then Carson Drake attacks Dak Draper again on the stage. Dak Draper fights him off, sends him into the stage. And then Mims with a big old suplex through the set to end the show. NWA, while not 100% back to where they were before the pandemic, they're still pretty gosh dang entertaining. And I'm definitely interested to see what comes next. And I hope you all are too. It's going to be interesting. Let's see where this ride takes us. And next up, we got AEW Dynamite, in which I'll have my thoughts. Don't you worry. So, to start, we see the Young Bucks and Kazuchika Okada arriving in one car. They're kind of talking to the camera, although I cannot hear a word they're saying. Then, behind them, another car rolls up. Out comes Jack Perry. They're about to enter the arena, but security stops Perry with Matthew pretty much saying, "Oh, look, he's with us. He's our boy." And then security stops. They walk on in. So that's going to be interesting. We then cut to inside Daly's place, which is where they're doing their anniversary show. And we start with Orange Cassidy, kind of. Although he gets thrown out of the entrance ramp, Uncle Phil style, by Trent. Trent continues his attack on Orange Cassidy. Then Trent gets a microphone. He says, "Chuck, it's time. I need you to come out here." Chuck Taylor does come out, although he comes out from the crowd, which is interesting. Then Trent says to Chuck Taylor, "Look, I need to apologize, man. I needed to do this a long time ago. We brought him in to be our mascot. Now things have changed. We became his lackeys. And while we gave him everything, he gave us nothing. Orange isn't your friend. I'm the one that cares about you. I love you, man. Please do the right thing." And then Trent opens his arms for the best friend hug. It looks like they're about to go for it. When Chuck stops, Chuck gets a microphone and says, "Trent, I always thought you were a piece of shit." With Chuck attacking Trent, Trent then bails out of the ring. Chuck back on the mic. He says, "Look, I don't want to fight you here in this ring. I want you in the parking lot." In which Alright, we're gonna get a parking lot fight between the best friends. Should be interesting. Yeah, definitely a weird way for that segment to go. But, yeah, we'll see. It should be a very interesting feud. The best friends breaking up. Never thought I'd see that day. We then go backstage to a Jon Moxley promo, in which, for whatever reason, TBS was having some kind of audio issue. Like, I could only hear, like, every third thing anyone said. So, Moxley with this promo saying, I'm not going to underestimate my opponent tonight. I'm not going to let anyone stand in my way. It'll only take one mistake for my world to come crumbling down. And tonight, against Hobbs, I'm going to walk through hell. But there's no better way to feel alive. And I'm going to show the world who I am. So, nice, simple, easy little promo from Jon Moxley. Although I couldn't hear half of it. Like, I know there was more to it, but I couldn't hear it. Good Lord. We then go to our first match of the evening as new AEW World Champion Swerve Strickland takes on Kyle Fletcher, the current Ring of Honor TV champion. And this was a fine first match for the world champ. It was a match we all knew he was going to win. And actually, after a Michinoku driver by Fletcher, we get a little picture-in-picture with the Elite going up to Tony Khan's office door, knocking on it, and going in. So they're talking to Tony Khan. We'll get to that a little bit later. Anyway, match is continuing. It's a lot of really good back and forth, although at one point Swerve hit a roll through on the apron in which it looked like he really messed up his ankle. But Eve did finish the matchup, ending with a drive-by kick for the win. Again, this was a very weird match. Like, I know I've heard they're saving the, championship celebration for Swerve for Collision. But, I don't know. We'll see about that. I feel like there was something else that could have been done with Swerve than just some weird match. Anyway, then we go backstage for a Thunder Rosa interview. Still with the audio issues. Like that, it was weird. Anyway, Thunder Rosa goes on pretty much saying, look, while I don't have the title, I am incredibly proud of how I did at Dynasty, and this isn't going to be the last time I go for the title. This brings in Deonna Purrazzo, and I did not hear a thing she said to Thunder Rosa. They just kind of argue at each other a little bit, then they start pushing each other before security comes in to break it up. I am glad more women are getting, segments on Dynamite. While I'd be more than good seeing another women's match, at least they're getting more spotlight. AEW is doing a lot better with their women's division. And actually, speaking of, next match is a women's match, as it's Stardom's Mina Shirakawa, I hope I am pronouncing that right, taking on Anna Jay. And this match absolutely ruled. We got Mina trying a couple times to go for the figure 4 leg lock. Anna Jay with her long legs countering it. At one point, Anna Jay goes for this Queen Slayer that gets countered into a Glamorous Driver. Glamorous Collection, I found out that was, to pick up the win for Shirakawa. Mina and Mariah May are in the ring celebrating with one another. Then Anna Jay just takes out both of them, including a Queen Slayer on Mariah May. This brings out Women's Champion Timeless Toni Storm to make the save. And while she's checking on Mariah May, out comes Serena Deeb, who comes out, taunts to Toni Storm, sits down next to the AEW Women's title, in which Toni Storm dropped on the stage. Pretty much says, I'm coming for you, Toni. I want this title so I can prove myself. So, yeah, again, more good women's stuff. And the women continue as it's Willow Nightingale's championship celebration, as she's introduced by Stokely Hathaway and Chris Statlander. Pretty much saying, look, Chris, Willow, you earned this title. We're all very proud of you. Then Willow gets the microphone and pretty much says, yeah, in spring 2022, I was right there in the front row waiting for my spot. And in 2022, I got my contract here for AEW. But tonight, I'm not trying to catch my break. Tonight, I hold gold. And before anything else could come out of her mouth, out comes Mercedes Moné. And I'm just going to say one thing. This might piss a couple people off. I don't like the CEO theme song. It's so, the beat of it is just so off. Like, I do not love it. Anyway, Moné comes out. Willow acknowledges her, pretty much says, well, this is gotta be like the fourth time you've interrupted me. You obviously have something on your mind, so let's hear it. Moné pretty much says, look, I don't come out here being bad news, so I'm gonna come out here and congratulate you. You did it, and at Double or Nothing, it's gonna be a new coronation as I beat you for the title. And I'm also out here for another thing, to ask you if you were the one who attacked me a few weeks ago. Willow replies, no. And even before your nonsense started, you've obviously had a vendetta against me. I have a question for you now. Do you think at New Japan I intentionally injured you? And then that set Moné off a little bit, pretty much saying, do I blame you for almost ending my career? I feel bad. Obviously, no. Willow then chimes in saying, look, I obviously feel bad about what I did. And when I went back to the hotel, I always had that in my mind, can I beat Moné at 100%? And I'm going to try to do it at Double or Nothing with 0 asterisks. Then Moné replies, at Double or Nothing, no, this is still Willow. Double or Nothing, I want you at 100%, so I can prove I can beat you. Then Moné replies, at Double or Nothing, you know you can't beat me. And I'm going to take your title. And as Moné is kind of walking out of the ring, Statlander kind of pushes Moné a little bit. So Moné, thinking it was Willow, turns around, pimp slap. Just a big old slap to Willow Nightingale. Then you have Statlander and Stokely Hathaway holding Willow back. And yeah, that's how this segment ends. I'm not sure where this is going. Like, is Willow somehow involved in that attack? Was it Statlander? Are they about to turn those two heel? Because I'm not sure if that's a good idea. Because a lot of people, myself included, really like Willow. She's like the ultimate white meat babyface, and you can't help but cheer for her. I don't know if turning heel is such a good idea. Anyway, So we got Alex Marvez. He's backstage outside of Tony Khan's office. Then the Elite, one by one, start to leave. He's trying to get a statement from any of them. Then Nick stops, pretty much says, look, later on in the ring, Tony Khan told us he's going to meet with Jack in the ring later tonight. So that's a very interesting tease. And yeah, we'll get to that. But next up is a casino gauntlet match where the winner receives an international title shot at Double or Nothing. Now, what this is actually kind of brilliant. It's a one-fall match, meaning you win, you get a pinfall or a submission, you win. However, it's not just, guy comes out, you pin. It's kind of Royal Rumble-ish, too. Like, you start with two people, guy comes in every however timed intervals, but instead of elimination style, it's one fall, which, yeah, that's honestly pretty cool. So, Casino Gauntlet match starts with Switchblade Jay White, 1/3 of the Unified Trios champions, and Dante Martin of Top Flight. And they kind of start off a little bit slow, but eventually it does pick up a little bit, including Switchblade tossing Dante over the top rope, which this brings in entrant number 2. Number 3, Penta El Zero Miedo, and he goes right after Switchblade, including a couple of sling blades, bunch of super kicks to Jay White, and this brings up the next competitor. It's Kyle O'Reilly, who was the last guy to get an international title shot. And again, he actually goes right after Dante, in which it kind of was a little clunky for a little bit, but eventually it did get in. Had a nice little knee bar on Jay White for a little bit, but he makes it to the ropes. Who's the next man in? Of course, it's Will Ospreay. I am surprised he's in this. And he goes pretty much right after everybody, including a fun little stare down between Jay White, and they were pretty big rivals in New Japan. So that's pretty cool. Ospreay blocking a Blade Runner, which that was pretty neat. Bit of an eye gouge from Jay White. Will Ospreay almost completely no-sells a Uranagi. Dante with a crazy Spanish fly. And the next entrant is Mr. Lance Archer. He goes right after Will Ospreay and kind of runs the ring for a little bit. And it's a lights out on Dante over the top rope onto everyone else. Next entrant in is Commander, and he uses his absolute top speed against Lance Archer. Another blocked Blade Runner attempt. Will Ospreay has the hidden blade set up, but out comes Jay Lethal all on his own. And he's lit a fire under himself, including a lethal combination into the lethal injection. Jay White tries for the Blade Runner, again blocked. Dante Martin countering out of a powerbomb. That was crazy. Then just Commander with a crazy looking shooting star press to break up an armbar. Will Ospreay with the hidden blade to pick up the victory. So your new number 1 contender for the international title, it's Will Ospreay. And to congratulate him, out comes the international champion himself, Roderick Strong, and the rest of the kingdom. including Adam Cole, baby. And Roderick Strong has a little face-off with Will Ospreay to end that segment. That was, I'm going to say this, as a concept, that match was brilliant. Did it always come off as really great? Not really. But it was pretty entertaining, and I'm interested to see how AEW tweaks the formula on this. Because there's something there in that match. Not absolutely. And then something I really didn't need to see. It's a Chris Jericho promo. And not to say I want Chris Jericho to retire. I really just want Chris Jericho to take a break. Because honestly, one, he deserves it. He's been going strong with AEW since the beginning. And number two, I can't miss you if you don't leave. Like, it's why I get more and more excited seeing guys like John Cena or The Undertaker come on WWE TV. So, basically, he's out. He celebrates the new FTW title. And he has the weirdest theme music of all time. Like, it's straight up from, who's ever making the WWE music now. Then Jericho gets on the mic, pretty much says, look, there's been a lot of negative connotations for FTW over the years. So now FTW stands for the world title, because it's for all of you. We won this together. And of course, thanks to Hook, he's been a great champion, a very tough competitor. But you needed to learn some lessons before you beat me, including getting rid of that dead weight, including your father, Taz. And you should have listened to me when I told you to stay down at Dynasty. And now I know you're at home listening. There is a list of men and women that got brought into the Jericho Vortex that have come out the other side better for wear. I hope it's the same for you. And before Jericho continues, out comes Big Bill, who gets in the ring, gets on the mic, pretty much says, look, I've been listening to you all night, and there's one thing I want to say to you. And I wanted so badly for Big Bill to hit Chris Jericho. Instead, he says, I need guidance under the learning tree. You're the Socrates of pro wrestling. And if you're willing to, take me to the next level. Oh boy. So Jericho retorts, there's obviously a long line of guys looking for the opportunity to learn under me. Big Bill retorts, no one is better fit than me. Jericho then retorts, I've been watching you for a while. There's a reason that you're here. I'm going to keep my eye on you. Big Bill retorts, you do that, I'll show you I belong. So, I don't know, that was weird. That was just... and honestly, Big Bill doesn't need Chris Jericho's guidance. He was a tag champ not long ago. And, I don't know, I feel like this is just the continuation of Jericho not knowing what the heck to do right now. And it's affecting the show. Like, I don't need to see Chris Jericho on every single Dynamite. Like, give this man some time off. Let's not see him for a while. And then when he comes back, he's going to get a big reaction. Like, give us some time without Jericho. Anyway, so we're backstage. We're looking at a Will Ospreay interview, saying he's so excited to get some gold here in AEW. Then Don Callis interrupts, pretty much saying, my only note, you had Kyle set in the Tiger Driver. Then Ospreay retorts, "No, I'm not doing that move anymore. That move has to go." Fletcher then replies, "Look, he obviously won the match. Who cares what move he used or didn't?" Then Callis retorts, "Look, obviously you have no reason to talk about winning. So tonight, here's what we're going to do. You're going to go after the international title, and I'm going to second Hobbs tonight when he wins the IWGP World title." We then go to that match as it's time for the IWGP World Heavyweight title match as Powerhouse Hobbs challenges Jon Moxley. And honestly, to start, it was big old meat man slapping meat match. If you don't know, then a couple of heavyweights throwing nukes at one another, including brawling into the crowd for a little bit. But at one point, I don't know 100% sure when it was. Could be somewhere on the outside, could be somewhere ringside. It was clear that Hobbs got a little hurt. Because for the rest of the match, it just was like just strikes and Hobbs tossing Moxley around for a little bit. Mox hits the Paragon Shift, only for a 2 count. Gets in the Bulldog Choke, in which Hobbs doesn't tap out, but he passes out. So, kind of a lame way to finish that one. Yeah, there was something off about this match from like the middle on. And I think Hobbs definitely got hurt. Anyway, post-match, on the ramp, you see Konosuke Takeshita. He's on the stage motioning that he wants some gold. So, Takeshita versus Mox for the IWGP World title. Yes, freaking please. We then go backstage for an interview with Katsuyori Shibata, in which he's not really speaking, but he's like using the translator on his phone, which is honestly a really meta and hilarious thing to do. With Shibata pretty much saying, "Look, Jericho early on the night called me dead weight, so next week I'm going to challenge him for the FTW World title and end the learning tree before it can grow roots." So, yeah, very interesting. So that was our main event match. We now have our main event segment, as we have Jack Perry in the ring. He has the mic, calling tonight the best night in my life. But tonight I have business to handle, and I'm going to handle it here and now with Tony Khan. And then Tony Khan just comes out, no music or anything, which is very strange. Tony Khan has a microphone but doesn't speak. Instead, we hear mostly from Jack Perry, where he says, "Almost 5 years ago, since the first Double or Nothing, AEW has changed the world, and while we've personally had our ups and downs, only thing I ever wanted to do was what was best for AEW. So tonight, I ask you to shake my hand and reinstate me to the roster." Jack Perry extends his hand. Tony Khan meets him. They shake. They embrace. And then Perry just gets an evil-looking smile. The same kind of one he had at the recent New Japan show. And then they let go of each other. And then Perry hits Tony Khan with the microphone in the gut, in which he did sell it a bit weird, but he's a non-wrestler, so I'm going to give him a little bit of a pass. He kind of slinked down like a sack of potatoes and then rolled onto his side. So, out comes the Elite. They call off Jack Perry, they talk him out. Then the Young Bucks, looking to help Tony Khan up, But they have him set up for the EVP trigger, in which Okada stops him, saying, like, oh, you shouldn't be doing this. No, 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 no. Instead, the Young Bucks hit the TK driver on Tony Khan, in which, yeah, that looked gnarly. So as the Elite are standing over the prone Tony Khan, out comes referees to break it up. They get the Elite to the back, and then the face roster comes out, checks on Tony Khan, and then who is in there with the rest of the roster is Tony's father, Shad Khan, in his maybe only second appearance ever on AEW. That's kind of nutty. So, yeah. Very interesting episode of AEW Dynamite. Was it the absolute best ever? No. Was it a pile of dog poop? No. There was definitely certain parts, honestly, I thought were a little weird. Obviously, the audio problems affected my enjoyment of the show. The only really, really bad thing on this show was the Jericho promo. In that, I mean, did we really need it? I don't think we did. So, definitely a mixed bag of AEW. We'll see what happens going forward. So that leaves us with our last show of the evening, as it's TNA Impact. We start off with a Nick Nemeth promo saying, look, I thought I'd be coming out here in the place where I debuted with the world title, and I have no excuses. I left everything out there, and I failed. Hell, I had my family out here ready to celebrate with me, but I didn't come through. I don't know what's next for me. I don't know what I should do. Should I go back and watch more wrestling? Should I train harder? Right now, I don't know what to do. I feel broken. And almost as soon as that word gets uttered, yes, out comes broken Matt Hardy, who pretty much says, look, I had a vision about me returning at Rebellion, and I would be going face to face with the world champion, and I hoped it would have been you as champ. However, I did watch the footage back of that match. Take a look. So a video is shown about Rebellion, where it definitely looks like Nick Nemeth kicked out of a Moose pinfall, but the ref didn't see it, so they counted. And, Moose won. So, Matt Hardy we then go back to live action with Nick Nemeth saying, well, that didn't look like a pin. And while I'm not the champ right now, I know what's next for me, and that's to, down the line, gain the championship. And this brings out the entirety of the system, with Moose leading the charge, saying, oh, you think it's funny that Matt is back? When he doesn't think it's wrestling, he thinks he's head coach of the Raiders, and they suck. Nice local sports team reference there, Moose. He continues, Matt, this isn't football. You cannot just challenge plays. I beat Nick, and Nick Nemeth then replies, you four are talking a whole lot of trash with just the two of us. Why don't you come down here and say it to our faces? Brian Myers then gets the mic, says, look, we know what you're trying to do here, and it's sad and pathetic. Nick Nemeth then replies, I came to TNA to be the next Kurt Angle. No, this is Moose. You obviously came to TNA to be the next Kurt Angle. No, you're going to be the next Eric Angle. Interesting. Then Nick Nemeth says, look, you obviously got a lot to talk about, so why not tonight, you and I beat the hell out of you tonight. So we're going to get that match. It's going to be Eddie Edwards versus Nick Nemeth. So then we cut to backstage, and we see a couple of X Division guys writing their names down and filling a ballot box. So we are going to have a ballot box battle to see who's the number one contender for Mustafa Ali's X Division title. You have Santino Marella back there. He's pretty much saying, oh, this was a great idea. Ali replies, to make sure the X Division is great again. I do have one little question for you. Can someone be the number one contender to their own title? Santino replies, no. In walks Jordan Grace, who pretty much says, Santino, can I talk to you for a second? Santino's like, sure, we don't see the conversation, but we do see what's next. As we have a Jordan Grace one-on-one interview, who says, I'm happy to have PCO have my back at Rebellion, and happy to see Sami Callihan back. And I actually just finished talking to Santino about my match with Miyu Yamashita next week, and I'm a fighting champion, so I'm going to be putting my title on the line. So then Miyu walks in. She pretty much says, I'm going to beat you. I'm going to take your title. So them's are fighting words. Big old Knockouts title match coming next week. In a little bit of an interpromotional battle. Can't wait. So we got our first matchup of the night. And I can't believe how freaking weird that first couple opening segments was. As Myron Reed of the Rascals, he has Trey Miguel and Zachary Wentz in his corner, take on the returning Mike Santana. And almost immediately, Wentz is up on the apron. Mike Santana eats a big boot from Myron Reed. And then Mike Santana pretty much takes over, including a $150 on the stage. Throws Myron Reed back in, hits a crossbody on the other two Rascals. Myron Reed tries to get some more offense on Santana, but he ducks it and into a spin the block for a win for Mike Santana. And as Santana's celebrating, out comes Steve Maclin. He turns to the Rascals, he pretty much points at them and says, yeah, let's get him. Rascals and Maclin surround the ring. Rascals are up on the apron. Looks like they're about to attack Mike Santana. And then they just jump down and leave the ring. Maclin then gets in the ring for a minute. Santana then pretty much just jumps Steve Maclin from behind. Goes for another spin the block. Maclin gets out of it and bails out of the ring. So it does look like this Maclin-Santana feud is continuing, in which I won't say no. So next up we got Khan and Steph DeLander backstage for a promo, calling what happened at Rebellion the Vegas screw job, saying Jordan Grace couldn't beat me one-on-one, fair and square. So how about this? At Under Siege, it's you and the monster PCO versus us two. Then Khan chimes in, PCO, I'm going to finish what I started, and that's breaking necks. Ooh. Honestly, a low mixed tag team match like that, I think that's pretty dope. Anyway, we cut to Josh Alexander promo. He's in the ring, ready to go, saying, today is a good day, and any time is a good day. I step in the ring with these three letters here. I showed at Rebellion that I bleed for these three letters, and my match versus Hammerstone. You can call me anything you want, but one thing I haven't been called in a while is champion. And now here's the plan. But before we can hear the plan, out comes Frankie Kazarian to interrupt, saying, "Oh, this is obviously just like you. I win my match once again, and you think you're the number one contender. I defeated Young in a Full Metal Mayhem match. I should be the number one contender." Josh Alexander retorts, "Well, obviously now we have a problem that needs a solution. We both won at Rebellion, so how about this? Right here, right now, we have a match to see who's number one contender." And then Kaz replies, "That's obviously just like you. You don't want me at 100%. I'd be fighting one-armed. I expected better from you." And then Josh replies, "Look, I'm beat up from my match too from Rebellion. You don't see me complaining. But if you don't want the match, I'll just be the number one contender." Kaz retorts, "You want to fight? Do you want this right now? Doesn't work for me, brother." Little Hulk Hogan reference. That's very funny. And as Kaz is going to leave, out runs a ref. He whispers something into Kaz's ear. Gets in the ring. He's coaxing Frankie Kazarian in. Kaz gets in. Ding, ding, ding. So in an impromptu match with these two pretty much in street clothes, have a match as a Josh Alexander versus Frankie Kazarian. And this is this is a fantastic little bout between these two. I know they have a little history before, when Frankie Kazarian first got back to TNA from AEW. And this was a really good back and forth, including counters to each other's finishers galore. At one point, Josh Alexander has Kaz in the ankle lock. Kaz gets out, hits a couple of suplexes. Lock on a C4, hits a cutter, only for a 2 count. At one point, Kaz rolls out of the ring, gets a chain and a chair. Looks like he's about to use the chair. Ref interrupts it. Puts it ringside. It looks like he's about to hit Josh Alexander with the chain. Eric Young then comes out, takes the chain from Kaz. But then Kaz pulls in Eddie Guerrero and feigns getting hit. So, ref turns around. He sees Eric Young with the chain. Ejects him from ringside. Then, as Kaz is celebrating that win, Josh Alexander comes over, ankle lock submission, and your winner, Josh Alexander. We then see Jake something. He's trying to enter his name into the ballot battle for the number one contendership. Santino's like, no, you can't do this. You can't do this. You already had your shot. So then in walks Alexander Hammerstone, who wants to talk to Santino about Rebellion. Then Jake something like, "No, dude, obviously now's not the time. You lost." Hammerstone's like, "Look, I'm not talking to you, man." Then Hammer pushes Jake. Jake pushes back. And Santino's like, all right, break it up, you two. So you two obviously want to fight. So we're going to do this match at Under Siege. Oh my goodness. That's going to be a hoss fight and a half. Like, jeez. Yeah, sign me up. We then cut to the parking lot as First Class, that's AJ Francis and Rich Swann, along with rapper Bun B, who I've never heard of, arrive to the arena in an SUV. Then we have a First Class Bun B interview on the ramp. Talks to Bun B about how First Class has been treating him. Says, treat me with respect. Everything has been first class. Obviously, none of them, these fans came for you. They all came for us, for First Class. Rich Swann talks about his victory over Joe Hendry at Rebellion, saying, everyone saw me whoop Joe Hendry. He put nothing but disrespect on me. So then the interviewer asks, alright, would you put respect on his name if he showed up now? We heard Joe Hendry's music hit. He's then kind of posing right next to the announcer, which is hilarious. Then AJ Francis takes the mic, says, did you not learn your lesson the first time? Do we have to teach you all over again? Joe Hendry then reveals, look, I'm not here to fight. You two beat me up good. And I obviously suffered an injury at Rebellion. However, I do owe you an apology, and I'm going to give it to you in the ring next week. So, no doubt it's going to be something musical. I am pretty excited for it. Next up, we got Ash by Elegance taking on Xia Brookside. Now, I know we've seen this matchup a couple of times. I'm more than okay with it. However, it does show how shallow the knockout pool is right now. Not saying it's bad. There's a lot of great talent. Don't really have big superstars in here right now besides Grace. Anyway, the match was entertaining, to say the least. Definitely some really good back and forth. At one point, we see Ash by Elegance's Sommelier take what looked like just a ring. Apparently it was brass knucks. And it looks like she was about to hit Xia Brookside. Ref took it off Ash's finger. Then via the roll-up, your winner, Xia Brookside. So, we got a win apiece, including Ash's first loss in TNA. Going to be interesting to see how this goes. And, yeah, we'll see. Anyway, we cut to backstage. The ballot box battle is open. We clearly see the winner, Trey Miguel, by 60 votes. Then Bay accuses Trey Miguel of ballot stuffing. Clearly second is Ace Austin. Ali then goes to the front, says clearly there's a case of fraud. So now there's no number one contender. Sorry, guys. Then Santino chimes in. Primo says, alright, it's obvious we have to have a runoff between our two finalists, with the winner getting Ali at Under Siege. Ooh, that's going to be a fun one. I mean, either Ace Austin or Trey Miguel would be a great number one contender. And, yeah, we'll see. Next up, we got a 2-on-1 handicap match between the Good Hands and the returning Sami Callihan. And this was less of a real match and more of a, showcase for Sami Callihan, including when the ref was distracted, Sami Callihan getting a PCO 8x10, and the paper cut in the fingers. That looks like it hurts every time. Good Hands do get some offense in, but ultimately, Sami Callihan fights back, including a big old headbutt and a cactus driver to pick up the win. So, gonna be interesting to see where Sami Callihan goes in this story. But now we cut to Frankie Kazarian. He's chilling out backstage. Steve Maclin enters. He's like, Kaz, I have a proposition for you. Kaz is like, look, I don't like you. I'm going to tell you the truth. I don't like you. I don't trust you. Whatever your proposal is, I don't want to hear it. I really don't like you ever since what you did to me last year. Then Maclin says, alright, hear me out. I've seen you, the problems you've been having with Eric Young and others. How about this? I help you with your problems while you help me with mine. Obviously, this isn't going to be a long-term thing. It's going to be 1-for-1. So, we'll see if this alliance gets going. We then cut to before our main event. We see Ryan Nemeth in the crowd. Good to see him back in a wrestling environment. I do kind of miss seeing him in AEW. Not saying I really need to see a Ryan Nemeth match, but it's good seeing him front and center for his brother as we see our main event of the evening as Eddie Edwards takes on Nick Nemeth. And while this match just started off a little slowly, eventually we get going really, really quick with a couple super kicks, a couple knees. Nick Nemeth has Eddie Edwards set up for a super kick. Then Brian Myers gets on the apron, and Nick Nemeth gets dumped to the outside by Edwards. Eddie Edwards then has Nick Nemeth in a sleeper hold for a little bit. Nick fights out. It's a couple of stinger splashes. Whiffs on a Famouser. You don't see that every day. But then hits a big old DDT. Only for a 2 count. Nick then hits a super kick. Then Eddie Edwards rolls to the outside. They get back in. Nick Nemeth is on the top rope. And then you see Brian Myers getting in the face of Ryan Nemeth. That distracts Nick enough to get knocked off the top rope into a superplex. Eddie with the Tiger Driver, only for a 2 count. It looked like at one point Eddie was going for a Boston Knee Party, but then he stands up, starts tuning up the band, goes for the super kick. Nick Nemeth with his own into the Olympic Slam for a 2 count. Eddie Edwards blocking the Danger Zone, which is very rare to see. Eddie Edwards miss on the Boston Knee Party. And then, as you see Nick Nemeth going in for the closing shot, you see Brian Myers taking some swings at Ryan Nemeth ringside. Security brings Ryan Nemeth away from ringside. This distracts the ref and Nick long enough for Moose to come in, attack Nick Nemeth with the belt from the behind. Eddie Edwards to the Boston Knee Party for the victory. In post-match, the entirety of the system beats down on Nick Nemeth. Alicia gets a couple of chairs, puts Nick in a hardcore necktie. Now what that is they kind of open one of the chairs, puts it around his neck, lays him out in the corner, and then Moose with a big old chair shot to the chair. Ooh, right to the clavicle. That's a rough shot. Anyway, out comes Speedball Mountain to run off the system. then Ryan Nemeth also gets in the ring, and they stand their ground against the system on the outside. So, this is going to be an interesting little predicament. Will Nick Nemeth make it to Under Siege? I guess we'll see in the near future. Alright, that is it from me. I hope you all enjoyed. I hope you like, comment, subscribe for the next one, which the next weekly review comes on Monday. And next Wednesday, I give you my predictions for Backlash. I hope you all stay tuned, and until next time, happy wrestling, everybody. Peace.